Guys, big round of applause and huge welcome to Jay Tholen, developer of Dropsy the Clown. And
So excited for the
Yeah,
freaking game.
seriously.
can't wait.
I was gonna give you guys some keys, but we're in beta, and I don't want everyone to see the crusty
Yeah.
version.
No, it's cool.
We
I'm
understand.
excited. I'm excited to review the whole thing. So don't worry.
Cool.
I'm really excited for it.
So, Jay Tholen on Happy Games Can Be Cool Too. Take it away and see you in a bit.
Okay. Thanks. So yeah, I wanted to talk about, I don't know. I like happy games. Bright games, things that are fun, joyous, I don't know. Stuff like that, and I feel like there's not enough of it maybe. And so I just wanted to talk about a few examples of those kinds of games and why I like them, and why I think they're good, and maybe I don't know, can be how they can be, sort of deceptively complex, because really, if you think about it, like, it's just the trappings of the game, like the color and the aesthetic and stuff, and like the theming are the trappings of it, but those can be just as deep as, I don't know, any other, I guess, game. So, and at the end, I'm gonna tie it back into my game. So, um, I guess one of the big things that inspired this was, I was playing through Earthbound again recently, just because I think it's my favorite game. I think it would be safe to say that, and mostly because of aesthetics. Like, really, it's kind of mechanically, it's kind of your usual sort of RPG of that era. Um, some would contest that, but I kind of think it's basically your usual RPG of that time. But um, aesthetically and thematically, it's just so, it has this weird undercurrent of like joy, and it's just real, it's fun to play. It makes you happy. I don't know. I think one of the things they may have done was they replaced everything like swords and like potions with things that are very relatable, like hamburgers and yo-yos and baseball bats and stuff especially that would be at a kid's eye level. Like, it's super relatable to a kid, and you use these things on your big incredible adventure and stuff. I don't know. I just think it was a really nice approach, and it was a little bit of a take on like American culture. It wasn't critical of it at all. It just had this undercurrent of just like happiness, and I can't really describe it. At the end, it gets a little dark, but that game is such a huge inspiration just for how I do things, I guess, with my game. And if you're not initiated, my game Dropsy is a point and click adventure, sorta. It's an open world point and click adventure where you play as a clown who 5 years before the game starts, there was this horrible fire and a bunch of people and animals died. And then 5 years later, you go through and explore the city, and you're kind of this legend at this point. Like, you're this guy that is a little bit hated or feared by citizens, and some of them, it's a little bit justified because the fire at your circus took some of their family members. So people are understandably a little bit afraid of you and scared of you in this town. But really, you just want to go hug people, and the motivation for everything you do is just love, or this childlike sort of desire to have everyone be your friend type of thing, I guess. And that's Dropsy's motivation. He's not allowed to do anything that's not that. It's just not within his character. Like, he doesn't go breaking pots and stealing people's coins or whatever, which, I mean, is normal for most games. But I guess I'm trying to make the universe make sense, so he doesn't, do any video gamey stuff. And even, like, we try to limit the amount of theft that happens, because if you think about adventure games, they're, like, all about theft. Like, all you do is steal crap and stick it in your pants in most adventure games from, like, all the scenes. Like you're putting people's paper clips, people's shoes in your pants, just whatever you can find, I guess. And like adventure games are funny because mechanically they're all like MacGyver. Like you're just finding random crap and slapping it together to get through a door half of the time. I don't know. Anyway, that's another talk, I guess. But I guess I wanted to start with this quote from C.S. Lewis about adult and about, and I guess I'm talking about childlike joy as opposed to what many people see as adult. And so he had this quote, and I think it was in response to someone who criticized him for writing childlike or things for children. And he said critics who treat adult as a term of approval instead of a merely descriptive term cannot be adult themselves. To be concerned about being grown up or to admire the grown up because it is grown up or to blush at the suspicion of being childish, these things are the marks of childhood and adolescence. And in childhood and adolescence, they are healthy symptoms. Young things ought to want to grow. But to carry on into middle life or even into early manhood with this concern about being adult is a mark of arrested development. When I was 10, I read fairy tales in secret and would have been ashamed if I'd been found doing so. Now that I'm 50, I read them openly. And so I think what he's saying is that um there's this, I guess, this stigma that when you're an adult, the only appropriate media for you to consume is stuff that is grounded in the reality you live in. And I think that's like the reason that half of games, especially the ones marketed at adults, are this fall into like a couple of themes. They're mostly like about army dudes doing stuff. I don't know, like army, military, spy guys shooting people or killing a bunch of zombies or whatever. It has one foot in the real world though. And so and I think that maybe because people like the sense of power you get from games, like and maybe it's part of your fantasy. Like as an adult, if there's a game that's just too bright or colorful, it'll take you out of this sort of fantasy of like having this gun and like blowing up everyone because that's grounded in a little bit of realism. So you can kind of convince yourself, yeah, I'm doing this sweet, yeah, I'm blowing dudes up. Yeah, I don't know. So it kind of it's so far removed from reality that it kind of doesn't let you fantasize in a way because it's just too not believable, you know. Um, and another thing is another reason I think those games are big is because they're tactile. Like they have this instant feedback and it feels really good. Whereas it's a little uh, harder to accomplish that. Like you have a gun and then it's like poof, and it feels good. It's neat. And because that's already sort of a, I guess I'm using Unity terms, I guess, but a prefab in society, it's easy just to copy that because it has an immediate good feeling to it. And it's really easy to turn into a game mechanic too. Like games where killing and destruction and stuff are your primary mechanic. It's just easy to turn that into a mechanic because your obstacles are either dead or alive, and you can very clearly see that, and you can affect that by shooting them. So it's like really easy. It's grounded in reality, and I even like shooters, so I'm not saying those are bad. I'm just saying as opposed to like colorful stuff. But an example of a genre that's not based in that, I guess, most of the time would be adventure games. And I don't even particularly have fun. I think I have more fun playing shooting and tactile games than adventure games, especially nowadays. Mechanically, like they just feel more fun to play, or action games rather. Um, but I think because you don't have that immediate feedback and it doesn't have the potential to make you feel like powerful like in the moment, they explore more like different worlds and characters and universes. Like if you think of the breadth that adventure games cover, like it's just so wide. Like there's detective mysteries, and then all of the LucasArts games were just whatever weird like pirates and and motorcycle bike dudes and all kinds of things. Like the Grim Fandango is just a crazy world there. And I mean, and I really love to see that kind of like creative, just like if you think about the breadth of what human beings can do, like what is possible, like it's just you can do so much stuff, and it doesn't all need to be like army men and stuff. So I guess I was gonna move into that and talk about how much I love Nintendo a little bit. Um, like I already mentioned Earthbound, which is a really good example of what I'm talking about. But I don't know, Nintendo in general kind of goes that way, and I know they're trying to be family friendly, so I don't know if this is just a side effect of their attempt at, appealing to the that market. But even still, it has a good result. And I think a good example of this is like their first party games, like uh Splatoon is a good example. And I haven't played it much, but I just love how they took a genre and somehow like it removed all like non-kid friendly stuff from it and kept what felt good about the genre, and then built this like pretty sweet little wrapping around it with the paint theme, and the little squids. I mean, who comes up with an idea to have like you turn into a squid and like dive into paint blotches as like a competitive shooting game? Like that's just weird, and I love it. It's cool, and I think it's gonna like echo a little bit throughout history because that's you can talk about that. I mean, no one buys the newest first person shooter, like realistic first person shooter, and goes, "Oh, sweet! Did you hear that you can shoot a terrorist in that game? Wow!" I mean, and that's like the basic mechanic. But in Splatoon, you turn into a squid and jump around and paint and stuff, and that's just cool to talk about. Let alone the mechanics, which have a lot of depth to them. It's just a well-made game. But Nintendo does this a lot. Like even Super Smash Brothers, at its core, I guess it's a violent game, even though it's cartoonish violence. And I'm just saying this talk is about happy, colorful games. It's not against violent games per se, even though I've gone on that tangent a little bit. But like all of their first party games basically have that same thing going on, and they all explore. I mean, who thought of a freaking plumber doing whatever Mario is doing? It's just weird, and it just makes it fun. It makes it something worth talking about. And I guess in my game, I'm trying to echo that a little bit. That weirdness, not necessarily anything about Nintendo, because Nintendo, as far as I know, haven't ever made a point and click adventure. But I think like aesthetically, definitely, I'm a little bit inspired by Nintendo, definitely by Earthbound, and there's a lot of things in this game that Dropsy has a very childlike demeanor. And there's a lot of things in this game I feel like that are designed to almost to be seen as he sees them. Everything is very colorful. Like the darker, like in the desert scenes, for example, like the lighter hues are of course yellows because desert sand, and then the darker hues are purples. And like I've tried to make all the dark, like the shadowy areas have like this just this colorful, fun, like vibrant thing that pops out at you because I don't know. Anyway, I'm going off on all kinds of tangents. I wrote a plan, but I totally just like started talking about other crap, so I guess I don't care about that anymore. But Dropsy also has a few like Batman like rules that I try to keep him by. Like for example, all the actions that he takes must be consistent with his character, and his character is perpetually happy, and he gives people like eternal chances. I guess like someone is mean to him, but he still wants to give them a hug. That's just like his sort of character, and his goal is to like make friends with everybody. So while you're playing, like the only actions that you're allowed to take are consistent with sort of that and everyone that you meet in the game, most of them are mean to you at first, And but they can all be sort of redeemed in a way. Like Dropsy can eventually be friends with them by helping them in various ways and stuff. And I just like that, like when a lot of people see my game, they think it's happy on the surface, but then like at the end, maybe Dropsy's gonna go on like a murder spree, and like it's big twist. Dropsy was actually a mental patient and he killed everybody. Ah! And that's like way too insane clown posse for me uh, to pull. But other than that, like it's also like I wanted to make something that maybe looked a little creepy on the surface, but has this underbelly of like happiness and joy and stuff instead of like I don't know like uh things being cute but then they're actually evil because I feel like that's just done to death a little bit, you know. So Dropsy's kind of tries to subvert that where you could see the stuff on YouTube or whatever and think, oh, it's a creepy clown game, and then but when you play it, it's really just kind of sweet, and maybe that'll be a letdown for some people that he doesn't go around and like go twisted clown psycho on everybody and like do crazy stuff. But I really think it's gonna add like some value to the game. But I guess the point of this talk is how those kinds of games that like sort of exalt this childlike um happy joyous thing can also uh be complex and have depth to them. And so one of my favorite things and something I hope people dig into when they get the game is the amount of like lore and backstory. And there's a lot of adult stuff within this in the game. And there's a lot to discover about the world and what happened in it. And there's like this entire group of people in the world that were oppressed, and a few of them were murdered like years ago. And before the game starts in a separate incident, not the circus fire. And I think it's really interesting. And Earthbound did this a little bit too. They touched on some really adult, uh, really crazy themes like that you wouldn't see in a happy game, uh, through like this really happy art still. Like for example, well, I don't want to spoil it. I don't know, but the last boss is just I guess represents a really heavy topic, and it's just really kind of a weird thing for a game that is like 90% of it is just goofy as crap to like dip into this super dark area. And but its main driving thing is still this sort of lighthearted joy, and that like dark thing is just talked about through the lens of like this I don't know, childlike existence. And so I guess that's what I'm trying to do with this game, where there's this sort of iceberg, like where you can poke through and see sort of some of the darkness in the people in the world and the things that have happened in the history of the world. But Dropsy kind of wants to go around, and I guess his objective to heal some of that, or just make it make people's lives a little bit better in the world as he's going around. And I would like more games to maybe explore being a force for good in the world. And I know most games you are, but you do it mostly by killing or removing an obstacle. Like the bad guys, you remove them. Like in Mario, you jump on the dudes and they're like, ah, and they like fall off of the screen. Or like mechanically, what you're doing is taking the bad force and you are like removing them from existence. And I'd like to see a lot of games that try to make you like actually in some way, like if you brainstorm enough about mechanics, you could figure out how to do anything, but in some way like redeem the bad forces, because I kind of feel like people themselves like aren't that bad and they can change, you know, they, you know, people can be redeemed. So it's like And I feel like video games a lot of times accidentally support this sort of tribalism that we can have in society, whereas we think this one group of people are like the liberals or the Republicans and are like ruining everything. And maybe the politicians have a hand in that, but I think most of the people themselves, like I have tons of old conservative uncles who are just like the best people in the whole universe. Like they would do anything for you. They're like good people. And so I feel like if games could represent that reality a little more, like and just help you kind of redeem the universe instead of just like remove the bad from existence and sort of understand that all of the living things in the game have value. And I guess it's a little bit hippie-ish, whatever, but it would be such a cool thing to explore, I think. And I think it would help push the medium of games to a level to like a different level, because I think a lot of people see games and they just see like, and I'm not, again, like I'm not against shooting games, I love them, but they just see that, like that's all that they see. And then like for example, I went to Germany, and I guess perception there among uh especially the older crowd is even worse than it is here when I say I make video games, because immediately most people assume I mean like a first person shooter. Like for some reason that's the default when people think video games now, I guess, is like a first person shooter. And so it a lot of people, like my girlfriend's German, and so when you tell your girlfriend's parents or relatives, "Oh yeah, I make video games," like that is an immediate call for them to be like, "Oh my God, what is like Katie, this guy makes video games, huh? Um, I think you should uh so what kind of video games do you make there, huh?" I think they think it's like in my brain, like this weird fantasy that I have, like some dude that wants to be in like a Rush cover band and like get super famous or whatever. I think that's how they see it. But like I feel like it would help the game, the medium of games so much to just like explore all these different ways of dealing with obstacles. And I think like super like joyous, like happy uh happy things in games aren't explored, especially as a motivation, like the things you do actually being good things that add to the world or help people in the game. And it's hard to think about how that can be also tactile. You know what I mean? Like in most games, you I guess you have to be against something because you win. And I think around friends, that's a lot of fun. Like you beat the crap out of your friends, and but games, it's fun. I beat the crap out of you, or I tricked you, or whatever. But I think with enough thought and like consideration, you could make any kind of game that also sort of does that and carries that sort of happy vibe. I don't know. And a lot of the times I want to play a game and feel happy after it, like I've done something good. It just feels nice. Um, and I don't really have much more to add to that. So I think my computer is gonna fire it up because I was gonna play some Dropsy and show you guys some stuff, but I think my computer is gonna fart on me if I try to. I don't know. I can try to screen share. Do you guys think that would be a good idea? I don't
I
know.
can try and get that working. There may be a little bit of video glitching.
I could
Only,
s- I could send you a key if you
um,
want, or that would be too. You'd have to download the dang
yeah.
thing. Never mind. Too late. I'm
What
dumb.
about question and answer session?
Yeah, I could do that. Sure.
So
Cool.
people in the chat ask Jay questions. There was a lot of really good discussion going on. I don't know if you're. I know you're in the stream. I don't know if you were reading the stream.
Yeah, I'm in it. I haven't been reading it because I've been talking about dumb stuff.
Not dumb stuff, amazing stuff.
One point that I did want to bring up is the idea that Dropsy is a hippie game. I don't. I mean, from what I've seen, I mean, obviously, I'm not you. I haven't been spending my life making this, but I don't think it's hippie. I think it's only it only seems hippie because of like what you were saying, where the general idea of games is shooting people, killing people, and running around and doing awesome manly man things.
Yeah.
And
I think,
comparatively speaking,
it was interesting because we had a discussion with Tim Donnelly last night about people not really understanding your passions. Like when you talk to people about what you do and they're not really into it, they're like, oh, video games, and you were kind of hitting on that. And I remember actually reading an article about Dropsy like a year ago, something where because I guess someone found out or something like that that you're
Yeah.
heavily into Christianity, so they started connecting Dropsy to like freaking Chronicles of Narnia, where there was like some sort of big secret
I gotta find this.
Can you remember that article though?
The big allegory.
I gotta find it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll Google it now after you. And I don't know. Oh, there's definitely, it's grounded in that a little bit, like ideologically.
Mhm.
It definitely doesn't do as much of the Narnia thing of
Very blatant.
some direct
Yeah.
allegory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was kind of
What about-
interesting, where people just started assuming about Dropsy, because Tech was saying they're assuming it's some sort of hippie liberal agenda or something that's religious because of the assumed allegory behind it. It's just
Yeah.
it's hard. Like we all understand how it's hard to, outside of the group of people that are enjoying your game in the first place, it's hard to explain it.
It's super hard to explain and weird to explain. Like, I think it's hardest among like churchy people, because it's like, because a lot of them, like if you think about Christian media, by and large it sucks. Like anything Christian, you can almost be guaranteed. Like if you try to watch a Christian movie, or especially Christian games, I don't think I've maybe played one or two good ones, maybe like indie ones, but other than that, like they're horrible. If you call them a Christian game, I'm not gonna buy it most of the time. But I think the problem there is trying to put a message before everything, like like it does, like they're trying to tell you Jesus is the way, and then here's some crappy art and some horrible game piled on top of that, by the way, for you to not enjoy while I tell you about Jesus. And so like it's always the message is always first, and then the content always goes second. And I even think the idea of putting a message like that is a little bit stupid, because someone, I forgot who told me, I probably read it, but someone's like, people are only gonna care like what you think until they know that you care about them. Like, and someone told me, like an evangelist or whatever, or some guy was like, hey, you know what, like the Jesus stuff, you can talk to people about that, but you should talk to them about that if they're going to take your fashion advice, or like if they're going to listen to a band you suggest. You have to be that close to a person to have this conversation and it be effective. Other than that, you're just throwing some crap out there.
It seems
And-
like you're shoving it down their throats.
Yeah, and so Dropsy is ideologically has some of my beliefs in it. Like I was saying about everyone can be redeemed. Like I think like everyone, you can make good or bad decisions, but that doesn't make you a monster if you've made a slew of bad decisions. You can, like, there's hope for you. I think, like I don't like writing anyone off, and so I think Dropsy tries to show that like people are infinitely complex. Like the most boring people I never thought I would be friends with, like ever. I never thought I'd be friends with some of these people. They're like freaking jock football player dudes, but like after getting to know them, like they have like their own crazy personal like deep complexity in there, and just walking by them I'd like write them off maybe, but like I feel like everyone has that. I feel like it's a mistake to say because you're into XYZ, and I guess society, maybe because they've listened to society tell them to like these things or whatever, it would be unfair of me to say, oh yeah, that's old Joe, he's a boring football guy, he doesn't do anything but football. He has something in there really different than everyone else. I think everyone has these quirks about them, so I guess Dropsy's kind of trying to show that a little bit too. Like everyone has some kind of.
So I had a question for you. after we had you on our show, I was showing Dropsy to a couple of friends, and one of my friends, bless his heart, I wanted to strangle him, but basically came across and said that he wasn't sure if he could identify with a character that was so naive as to think
I
that he
think
could. And I'm curious because you you walk a very fine line with Dropsy, where he's very innocent and joy based and he's a good person.
Yeah,
How do you avoid taking him into that line of
just totally not relatable anymore, I guess.
yeah of just he's so innocent that he's naive.
Yeah, he is. I think he's naive in like. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've tried to not do that too much.
I feel like and this is also sort of going into a question that I was going to pose. I feel like if you can't relate to that character or the world in general and you're just completely out of it, you're not. I don't know if you're completely in touch with, and I'm not trying to like totally throw somebody under the bus in the chat or whoever's listening, but
Yeah, right.
I'd feel like you wouldn't necessarily be in touch with that part of you because everybody was a kid, everybody grew up, some people grew up faster than others, and like one of the scariest things for me about this game is that I'm gonna play it and it's going to like show me more of my like a part of myself that I haven't like seen in a long time, because I was a really angry teenager and I've gotten out of that since, but like before that I was like the happy kid and nothing
I think most people
Yeah.
are angry teenagers.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think.
And like and I look at this and I'm like the juxtaposition of such a happy character that truly like loves and cares about everything and is just out to make the world a better place, put into this world where he isn't understood and he's trying his best and people don't care, like that's so real. And
Yeah, I know.
maybe not necessarily.
Yeah.
And it's scary not because I'm like, oh, I'm terrified, but it's scary because I feel like I'm gonna like feel that too much and feel really sad.
Yeah, some of the beta testers said the game was surprisingly sad, even though like everything like there's all kinds of poopy pee farts that happen, like goofy crap, like. But all that stuff comes out of like our late night development chats, and we're like, "Hey, we have an extra UI space. Let's put a button that makes fart noises." Or like so. Dropsy's thing is like hugging, and every time you hug someone, a little picture shows up on your bedroom wall, of the person that you've hugged. And some people, you have to like gain their trust and do something nice for them to be able to hug them. So there's a lot of these optional hug puzzles, is what I call them. So we had those, and we're like, you know what? The dog does. Wait, what? What? Tell me this.
Hugsels.
Hugsels. Oh God, I gotta write this down. Hugsels. HUGG, I guess. Anyway, ZLES. Okay, so but we were thinking, well, the dog doesn't have anything, so we made the dog be able to pee on, like the dog in his little doggy house, which we just added. He has a little hydrant in there, and if you click it, he'll like take a leak on it, and then like I don't know if you've seen, but when Dropsy hugs stuff, like a little thing comes up, and he's like, "Woo! I hugged stuff!" Like a little happy Dropsy comes up, and so we made the dog like after you pee on like it one of the little, and we don't tell anyone this, but everything vaguely hydrant shaped. There are some bushes that are very conspicuously shaped like a fire hydrant. Like if you go as the dog and you have to pee on everything, and then if you go back in your like little room, there's like a battle map and you see like the X's where he like peed on everything. But there's like a dog thing where he's like winking or whatever after he pees on stuff. Like yeah, I'm cool.
It's like
whatever. I don't know
now.
And so about your question though about it being unrelatable, I have not tried at all because there's so much stupid like pee poopy stuff overlaid on top of this really serious game that I have no idea what people are gonna make out of it. Like by the time they play it.
Do you think that there's a difference between being endlessly positive and being blindly optimistic.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think Dropsy's problem is like he can't even help it. Like, I don't think he's even capable of being thinking bad about anyone. Like a dog maybe or something, you know?
I appreciate the fact that you always refer to Dropsy as if he's a real person, like that you know him on a deep level. And no, I'm serious.
Yeah.
It's funny in a way, but it's I'm serious. Like as someone who writes and comes up with characters and you become attached to them, it's really good to see that because that means that you have a deep understanding that the story is going to be good, that the character is going to be good because you have this so much emotional investment in
I
it.
appreciate that. Like, I guess that happened naturally over time, I guess. It feels so. I think you're right, because when people don't understand, like when I explain it or on Twitter, when someone's like, this clown's weird and sucks, it's creepy, I hate clowns. I feel a little hurt for Dropsy when people say that. I'm like, oh man,
which is
he's
actually
nice.
really good because that's the exact response that he would have in the real world. So you've basically created the real Dropsy and the game is real life.
One thing we do gotta change though is there's some parts that are like sad. Like there'll be a little girl crying on a part, and I think it's real weird for Dropsy to talk to her, and then she's like, "I'm sad about something. My life sucks." And but then he still has that smile plastered on his face, and it just feels like, "Oh, I don't give a crap. I'm a happy clown. Bye, sad people."
Maybe it should be like a questioning thing. Like I don't really understand, but I'm listening.
Hopefully that's what people think. But
Yeah.
if in the polish phase, I might make him do a little bit of a sad face until you leave the scene, and then he'll be happy again, just so it's not quite as incongruent. Like he looks like he's relating a little bit. But maybe he's like a happy sociopath in a way, because he just doesn't get it, but he's just happy anyway.
Yeah. Not one of
And
the. It's like the schizophrenics in Africa having like happy voices in their head. Which is apparently something that
that a thing?
happens.
Yeah.
Apparently.
I need to look this up because I don't know about that. Yeah.
Basically, the study went around and the schizophrenics, depending on the culture that you're raised in, the voices that you tend to hear in your head have different things. They found that a lot of the Western cultures tend to have more negative voices, more judgmental voices, whereas the African nations and several and the Asiatic nations cultures tend to have a more happy and uplifting and hey, good for you.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
So schizophrenia no longer becomes a disorder, and it just becomes like a thank
No,
you.
it's still a
voices in my
disorder,
head.
but-
No, I know, but not a disorder in the common sense that we think of it.
I wonder if it's almost a necessary thing sometimes for some of them. I don't know, but that's crazy to think about. My mind is blown. Maybe it's
Look
because
at
we're so
IRX.
comfortable
Yeah,
here and
different
stuff.
perspectives and different cultures, and just
Yeah.
bringing people together.
Just giving a 5-minute warning. Audience members, do you guys have any questions for Jay? Any questions about Dropsy or his design or
So,
I do.
do you have like a mailing list people can keep up to date with this, or just your Twitter?
Just Twitter, I guess. Or yeah, you'd have to be a backer to get those Kickstarter updates. So Twitter or email me at dropsytheclown@gmail.com because I send PayPal backers the Twitter updates when I post them.
Jay also does a lot of streaming of the development cycle. From the chat, Evil Dog Productions wants to know who does the art and the music and for Dropsy the Clown.
And who are
Okay.
your partners? I know you just had another guy just come in recently. So
Yeah, we had
you
a
have a
team.
partner in this too.
Yeah, so this team saved my butt. They're really good. The game was kind of in shambles. The game felt like last year. So they're called A Jolly Corpse is the team that joined me, and Jesse is an animator, and he's doing a lot of the character animations that you'll see in the game. And David is a programmer, and Bernie does a small amount of programming. And then there's a guy named Chris Schlarb who did the main soundtrack. And I do the backgrounds and did the main Dropsy and a few of the characters. but I do the background.
And I highly recommend when Jay is streaming some pixel art, you watch him, because the first time I ever saw it, I was like, all right, cool, pixel art. I like Dropsy, and I'm seeing this scene, and it looks great, and I'm like, that's awesome. And then he like goes into something and like fixes a few pixels here, and he adds a line, and it's just like 10 pixels, and he backs out, and it's a completely like new thing.
Oh, thanks.
And
I didn't. Yeah, like I love streaming because it
Like
keeps me on
sorcery.
task. If I am not streaming, I am like getting up every 5 seconds to get like potato chips or to like stupid. I don't know what well, when I was a kid.
Tip from Tim Donnelly: record everything that you do. Like record your times, and it'll motivate you after you see how
I'll
much
be
time you're
ashamed.
wasting.
Yeah. I don't need to. Like I should maybe, but I do so much dumb stuff, and like
Yeah.
streaming keeps me off of social media. I think pretty
That is
good.
a good tip, though.
That is a really
Yeah.
good tip. Stream
Yeah.
all your work, and then you have it recorded. So if you're ever like, "What did
Yeah.
I do?" Oh yeah, I did this.
Half the stream's just Facebook.
Yeah.
So
It would be.
I've got another question for you. We spoke to you about a year ago on Indie Game Riot, and you've now brought in Jolly Corpse. Obviously, you're in beta. How
Yeah.
soon before I can get my hands on the release of Dropsy? Do you have a target date?
Yeah, we do. No one quote me on this one too much because it could slide a little bit, but it's going to be
tentative.
around August 25th.
Oh, that's not
Is-
too long.
August
Oh,
25th
that's really
is
close.
is the date in the plan. Don't know. It depends on the testing and how quick bugs are fixed. But I'm pretty confident August 25th will be it. I'm pretty sure. So,
Excellent.
Awesome.
Wow, I cannot wait. Cannot wait.
Yeah, seriously.
thanks.
This is,
I can't wait for you guys to play it because
This is probably.
I've pixeled like I connect this game in my brain with your podcast
Yeah.
because I've made so much of it listening to your voices that it's like synonymous with the game. It's just like weird. I don't know how to say it. It's like
It's like you've subconsciously like
There's
put
a-
things in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like behind all the pixel art, if you zoom in, there's just pictures of our faces on.
yeah, if you like combine all of the scenes next to each other, they make up a mosaic of your faces.
That's awesome.
Or you can save it as an audio file, and you're like a whole podcast or something.
Well, that's very honored. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for
this
that.
is Indie Game Riot's probably most anticipated game because it was like you were the first dev we ever interviewed.
Oh, really? Sweet.
Yeah. The first
So-
interview we ever did.
Yeah, I love y'all. Like it kind of keeps. It's like it. There's a thing to look forward to every week. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know, you get a podcast and you're just like, is it? Are they doing it yet? Is it? Did they put it up yet? But I like that you guys stream it, so it's like
Oh
guaranteed.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
while I am working at this time, I know that I can listen to this.
Well,
All right,
thank you
man.
for that, and thank you for coming on IRX, Indie Revolution Expo 2015. Guys, this has been Jay Tholen. Happy games can be cool, too. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us for this.
And now we've got to hang up on your face, unfortunately.
Yeah,
thanks for
unfortunately, we got to
inviting me.
switch over and get set up for the next one.
Yeah, thank
See
you
you
so
soon.
much.
All right,
Jay.
guys.